All aboard the libation station. Next stop, Smackdown in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I respect you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's episode of Smackdown, I'm happy to say and kind of upset to say, this episode was pretty much average, okay? It wasn't bad, which, I'm happy to say it wasn't bad, but I'm upset because it wasn't great either, okay? There were some problems and some things I just straight up didn't like and found as absolutely nonsensical, but there were also some pretty good matches, and there were some really, really interesting segments, okay? So, number one, let's start off with what started the show. After weeks of basically doing effectively nothing on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes has made his return to actually, being in the ring or cutting a promo. Pretty much he comes out, he basically says the usual stuff, and he actually starts off his promo in the ways that I, make jokes about. He's like, Kevin Owens, I know that you're backstage, but why don't you come out to this ring? I have some libations in my back pocket for you. But yeah, Cody calls Kevin Owens back out into the ring, right? Kevin Owens does not come out, and Cody Rhodes is basically just saying, you know what, I know you're back there, come out. He yells again for him to come out. Kevin Owens still doesn't come out, and Nick Aldis goes to the ring, and he basically talks to Cody and cuts a pretty decent, decent set of little promo here for Nick Aldis, For a GM, he's a lot better than Adam Pearce because he actually does more and he contributes more. So he basically tells Cody Rhodes, you know what Kevin Owens did was indefensible, right? You can't do pile drivers. We banned that move so that this generation of wrestlers will not end up in wheelchairs in a decade from now. You get what I mean? Or in 20 years or something like that. And so because of that, he has banned Kevin Owens from being at SmackDown tonight. And Cody Rhodes responds with, you're banning him and you're going to handle this internally? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Dusty. You know what I'm saying? Cody Rhodes basically just goes like, okay. And by the way, I just want to say this right now. Cody Rhodes tonight does not cut a bad promo. Now, it was a boring promo, don't get me wrong, but it was not a bad promo necessarily. It wasn't good in general, but for Cody Rhodes' standards, this was an above-average promo. He basically tells Nick Aldis, he gets intense. He's like, this is my fault. Imagine having to sit there and look at your best friend and having to tell him his wife, his kids, that you are the reason for why your dad is in this situation, right? He tries to bring some sort of emotion and energy to the promo, and he also is like, what do you want me to do if Kevin Owens isn't here? You want me to go to his house and kick him out, beat the crap out of him, bust through his windows, destroy this guy? You don't want that from your champion. So I'm putting the ball in your court to get Kevin Owens here next week, and I'm going to deal with him face to face. Nick Aldis looks in distance, and Cody walks out of the ring, and that's the end of this promo. Kevin Owens then has like a video promo later in the night, and he's like, yeah, I'll be here next week, and I'm just going to be doing my job. Now, one thing that I thought was stupid about this promo, however, Cody Rhodes delivers his promos in a boring and very slow-paced cadence, so sometimes you forget what he's saying, and you just lose context, and lose track of what he's talking about. But he says that it's his fault for why Randy Orton is getting beat up. But here's the thing. That doesn't make any sense. Cody Rhodes, hypothetically speaking, right? After Bad Blood when he got attacked by Kevin Owens, all he had to do was come out and try and get a match with Kevin Owens. You know what I'm saying? But of course he had to fight Gunther. So the fact that he had to fight Gunther when Randy Orton fought KO, now it's Cody Rhodes' fault that Kevin Owens got involved with this whole thing? It's not. Kevin Owens came to him because Cody Rhodes was fighting with Roman Reigns at Bad Blood. He was teaming up with him. Right? So Kevin Owens would have been feuding with this dude regardless. It doesn't matter. Randy Orton happened to get in the crosshairs. That's not Cody's fault. You know what I'm saying? It's a mixture of Randy and KO's faults, respectively, for getting inside of this feud and getting inside of this whole situation with Cody and the title and the Bloodline and all this other nonsense. So this whole stuff with, it's Cody's fault, it's my fault, I can't believe I did this to my wheat leaf company and my libation bus. It's nonsense, right? That's just all that it is. But anyways, this promo was okay at best. For a WWE champion in that standard, it wasn't good. But for Cody Rhodes, this is a decent promo, right? And something that I found actually and this is something that I think is just absolutely egregious about this entire situation, right? Hypothetically speaking, which I don't know why I'm saying hypothetically, we know this is probably going to happen. When Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens versus the WWE Championship is officially set for Survivor Series most likely, and Cody Rhodes obviously is going to win that match, what is the point of Kevin Owens turning heel and doing all this stuff the last month and a half or the last month or two? What's the point? Kevin Owens turned heel because Cody chose to team with Roman Reigns at Bad Blood? That's it? If you have a problem with Roman and the Bloodline so bad, why didn't you go be the fifth member of the Bloodline instead and then go get Cody afterwards? Take out the guy you hate so much in Roman and then go take out Cody secondly. You know what I mean? The Bloodline is the cause of all this division between Kevin and Cody Rhodes, so what's the point? Kevin Owens turns heel for a month and a half just to lose to Cody Rhodes and get jobbed out, and then what does he do next after he loses his feud? Nothing. Literally nothing. This dude's gonna have one of the quickest heel runs in the history of the company. He turns heel for a month and then disappears after losing to Cody Rhodes twice for the title in like within the span of 3 months. It really is nonsensical, man. I really don't get it, bro. But hey, that's the end of the day. The story is just very convoluted at this point with Cody and KO and Orton. And even though people are going to say it's the most interesting feud Cody's had since Roman Reigns, it probably is. But again, none of Cody's feuds since becoming champion have been good. They've all been pretty much garbage for the most part. Actually, no, all of them have been bad or mid. So this being decent, and the only reason it's decent is because of the Randy Orton side and the Randy Orton backstory with him and Cody and him and KO. That's the only thing that makes this interesting. Kevin Owens, or Cody Rhodes himself, has not done anything to elevate this feud at all. And it's very contradictory and convoluted story, just like I just explained. Anyways, let's get to the next segment. No, actually, sorry, it wasn't. The next segment was not LA Knight. It actually was Bayley versus Candice LeRae versus B-Fab. Spoiler alert, Bayley wins. The match is mid. The only one who actually looks decent in this match is surprisingly B-Fab. This is probably like her first match on live TV, at least that I've seen. And she actually did a decent job. She showed some power, some athleticism, some strength. It was decent. But other than that, nobody cares about this match. So let's move on. Bayley advances in the next step of the U.S. Women's Championship tournament. So she's going to advance to be in another triple threat or another one-on-one match, I think in a couple weeks versus I think either Blair Davenport, Bianca, or like Piper Niven or Chelsea Green or one of those two. So who knows with that. Anyways, LA Knight comes out and cuts a promo. He basically says, because he was talking backstage to Sami Zayn, who's on Smackdown tonight, and LA Knight was basically telling him, look, I'm not going to be in the Bloodline, I'm not doing this, because Sami's still trying to get that 5th member, which we're going to talk about who that 5th member might be a little later. Things are starting to get very interesting with this Bloodline thing, all right? We're going to talk about that. Anyways, LA Knight basically cuts a promo saying, I'm still the U.S. champ after all the people I've absolutely, stomped out over the last couple months, and I'm still rolling. This is not going to be a Logan Paul championship reign where we're defending 2 times in 1 year. Nah. We're going to fight back, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that we defend this title and remind everyone why we are the best champ, and with everybody saying LA Knight. And he does an open challenge and says, hey, whoever wants this title, come down here. The Legado del Fantasma comes out. This segment is actually hilarious, I'm not going to lie. It was a very funny segment. Legado del Fantasma comes to the ring. Santos Escobar basically goes like, you stupid Milwaukeeans, you need to shut your mouths. And then Santos Escobar goes, why don't you say anything cool, LA Knight? Say something like, Escobar, see? You know what I'm saying? It was absolutely awesome and hilarious. Santos Escobar has a little bit of talent on the mic. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I remember last year he cut a promo on Rey Mysterio that I thought was actually pretty striking. It was pretty decent. But then, he was basically not on TV for like 2 months after that. But anyways, that's none of my business. Santos Escobar is decent on the mic, okay? He just is. But LA Knight responds with him. He's like, listen, why don't you shut your mouth and tell this Berto guy to stop staring at me? He looks like he wants some, he's staring at me like I'm a piece of barbecue or something like that, right? And then LA Knight's like, look, what I'm going to do is, I already beat you, Santos, for this belt, so I'm going to fight this jobber Berto pretty much, and I'm going to stomp him out. And the only person that's going to be, saying anything crazy after this match is going to be me. And LA Knight says, he tells Berto, he's like, yo, Berto, I'm going to stomp you out just like your dad did. And it's a very weird line. I'm like, what is his dad, like, beating him up? I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? I guess he's saying, like, oh, I'm going to beat you like your dad beat you, whatever. And then after this, he's like, the only person who's going to be calling me daddy is Elektra Lopez, your little girlfriend over there. Yeah. And then the match starts. It was actually a really fun segment. I enjoyed it. Then the actual match itself was fun as well. It was solid. Berto and LA Knight did a decent job. Berto's pretty athletic in the ring, so that helped a lot. LA Knight was pretty entertaining as well. He tried to do his run-up suplex on the top rope. He didn't botch it, but it was just like he got countered out of the move, so it didn't really matter for much. Berto did this springboard little mini kick, which was cool. But at the end of it, LA Knight does some counters, yada yada yada. BFT match is over, okay? So that was pretty much this. After this match, though, Shinsuke Nakamura, the jobber that hasn't been seen in a year at this point, Shinsuke Nakamura is back, and he knees LA Knight in the side of the head, knocks him down, and stands over him and kind of looks at the crowd in a kind of sense of yeah, I'm back, and I'm coming for this guy's belt. I'm coming for the throne. You get what I'm saying? That's all this was. Shinsuke Nakamura being back, do I care? Absolutely not. He hasn't contributed anything to this company in years at this point, and quite frankly, LA Knight and Shinsuke, I don't know how that's going to work on the mic. I feel like LA Knight is in a filler Cody Rhodes arc because the mid-card on Smackdown is so bad that you have to just reshuffle the same people like Santos, Carmelo Hayes, and Andrade, but in reality, now you have to throw in Shinsuke Nakamura, who's been on the bench for a year at this point. You have to shove him back in because you have no other mid-card talent for him to face. Heck, he just fought Berto in a U.S. title match, so that lets you know everything you need to know. So we'll see what happens with Shinsuke. I don't know if LA Knight's promos will be conducive to this guy because, Shinsuke doesn't really do a lot of promos and, he does like the weird backstage stuff compared to LA Knight's style. I don't think the style's mixed. It's kind of like the Cody and Shinsuke feud. It just wasn't good because of a lot of different factors, like Shinsuke being a jobber for one. But anyways, who cares? Let's just see what happens with it down the line. After this, we get the main event of the night as far as I'm concerned. The Bloodline gets backstage. Roman, Sammy, Jimmy, and Jay are there in their OG Bloodline shirts. You know what I'm saying? Yeet, yeet, yeet. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Oos. That's what Jay Uso is always like to say. You know what I'm saying? Oos. You know what I'm saying? Oos, 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 oos. Waffle House, oos. Waffle House, oos, oos, oos. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the heck this dude's talking about. But the Bloodline's backstage, and they're like, look, Roman, we don't have a fifth member. That's what Sammy says. Roman looks up. He's like, gosh dang it, man. What are we doing? And then all of a sudden, Solo's music hits. Solo and his new Bloodline are walking out to the ring. Roman looks up and he's like, uh-oh. And then Roman gets up and they leave the locker room and they're getting ready to go out and confront Solo. And after this happens, Solo's Bloodline and Roman's Bloodline are basically out there, near the ring. Roman's Bloodline is waiting outside. They're about to walk in. And then all of a sudden, they get up in the ring. And after this happens, Roman's Bloodline and Solo's Bloodline just go head to head, just start brawling and fighting. You got super kicks, you got, the dives over the top rope, all kinds of insanity. You get what I mean? Jacob Fatu super kicking the Usos, all that stuff is happening. But then obviously the numbers game catches up, even though it's a 4v4. The OG Bloodline is obviously going to get beat down in this segment. After this happens, Sami Zayn kind of gets knocked down, Roman gets knocked down, but then everyone starts to kind of fight back. Sammy, though, gets captured or picked up by Solo in the midst of all of this. And then, Roman Reigns is pushed up against one of the turnbuckles. He dodges out of that. I think he knocks Tonga Loa out of the ring. And then he spears Solo while he's holding Sammy, right? And after Roman saves Sammy by spearing Solo Sikoa, he stands up and him and Sammy kind of give a nod to each other like, yeah, we're in approval, we're working together, we're back. Little details like that made this segment much better and much more detailed. Now, after this happens, though, Sammy does a little dive over the top rope and knocking people down, and then there's a face-off between Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns. And Jacob Fatu does like that little pose, he's like, I love you, Solo, I love you. He's got like his praying hands out. But then Bronson Reed comes out into the ring and hits Roman from behind, bro. Which obviously this means Bronson Reed is the fifth member for War Games. Now, we're going to get back to this fifth member situation in a second. But Bronson Reed basically beats Roman Reigns up from behind. But then to an extent, Roman Reigns starts to fight back when it's him versus Tama Tonga and Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu. He kind of fights back against all three. It was a pretty hype moment. He Superman punches Tama Tonga. He Superman punches Jacob Fatu. And then he hits Bronson Reed too and gets hype and everything. And then Solo gets him from behind, right? So he 1v3s everyone. But then he gets caught up by Solo. Solo spikes him. And then Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed do this nasty combo, dog. It's a moonsault into a tsunami like moments after, bruh. It is absolutely dirty. Now, here's the thing. I do not want a 5v5, realistically. I said this last week, I have to be consistent. I want a 4v4. I want OG Bloodline, just like it is right now, with all four of them, versus the new Bloodline before they had Bronson Reed. That's just what I wanted. Everyone who was involved in this story should be the same people we see outside in the match at Survivor Series War Games. However, them adding Bronson Reed into this actually kind of works, because at the end of the day, Bronson Reed, I'm like 95% sure, is part Samoan, so you have that, the family blood ties there, obviously going to make that into the storyline, and it kind of works to a sense. Also, Bronson Reed has a similar savagery and monster-esque style to dudes like Tama Tonga and like Jacob Fatu. They're not like the biggest dudes on the planet, obviously, but like their characters-wise, they're savages, right? They're characters. Bronson Reed is tsunamiing people, he's brutalizing dudes, destroying people like Seth Rollins, doing tsunamis to different people like Sheamus and, beating up Damian Priest last week or 2 weeks ago on Raw. This is the kind of style and recklessness that the new Bloodline, exudes. And Bronson Reed only goes to forward that theme and that, narrative with this new Bloodline. It makes him feel like an actual threat, because this is the same Bronson Reed who's brutalizing dudes on the main roster on Raw as well, like Seth Rollins, Sheamus, etc. If he's brutalizing those dudes, it's believable that he can come down here and help this new Bloodline brutalize people like Sammy, Roman, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso, when it's a 5-on-4. So that kind of makes sense. I like this addition, and even though I don't want a 5v5, I think it's rushed and it's unnecessary, it is kind of working to an extent. If you're going to go with 5 members, this is the way that you want to do it, the way they're booking it with Bronson Reed. And for him to get this push, the last 4 or 5 months, I think he's been doing really good work. And this kind of continues that. He's now working with purely main eventers. You had him working with Seth Rollins, and now he's working with Roman Reigns. Obviously, this means Seth Rollins has like a 95% chance to be the 5th Bloodline member for the OG Bloodline team at Survivor Series. How do I feel about this? I don't know. I think it's going to be extremely interesting to see Seth Rollins, and I do think that I know a lot of us are going to complain about it being rushed, and, it's unearned, and, it is kind of rushed to an extent, all right? I agree with that. It is kind of rushed, and I believe it should have just been a normal 4v4. But when you're adding in Seth and Bronson Reed, you are adding in an interesting layer and dynamic, like I mentioned with Bronson Reed and his reckless abandon, and now you're adding the element of Seth Rollins with Roman Reigns, but at the same time, even though it's going to be great and entertaining to see them in a reunion and working together with the OG Bloodline, it's like Seth just did all of this stuff at Mania 40. He did. He tore his knee off the bone. He fought back against The Rock and Roman Reigns. He fought against the Bloodline, and he did all of this to sacrifice Roman losing his championship, and he cost him by getting in the ring with the Shield gear, right? All of that just to now be teaming with the guy in the same year? You know what I mean? That plot hole in that thread, they're going to need to somehow explain that as best as they can within 2.5 weeks they have left of build-up until Survivor Series, or 2 weeks on the dot. So after all this happens, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are looking at each other, and pretty much they're like, well, Jey Uso basically says, yeah, Uso, you got to make a call, man. Make the call. And I didn't know who this call was to. I assumed it was to Seth Rollins, but we'll find out later it was not to Seth Rollins. It was actually to somebody else. Now, next thing that happens, Street Profits, rest in peace. I don't care about the Motor City Machine Guns. They come out and get no pop. The Street Profits were getting cheered and popped for all match, and they were the dudes contending for the titles, and the whole crowd is in their favor. This goes to show you that not only are the Street Profits probably the most over tag team in WWE at the moment, but on top of that, they're probably the most talented. Well, actually, no, they are the most talented, and on top of that, they get better reactions, and the crowd is more engaged in them. The audience is more engaged in them than they are the DIY or Motor City Machine Guns, right? Yet the Street Profits still don't get titles, and they still look like jokes because Tommaso Ciampa comes out and pretty much costs the Street Profits the match, and that's it. That's it. Tommaso Ciampa has now become a full-blown heel. He pushes Johnny Gargano down to the ground, and that's it. I predicted last week, I did say that, DIY, with Johnny Gargano specifically, get the jobbers confused. Tommaso Ciampa is doing decent work as a heel so far in the last few weeks. However, the only way the Street Profits are going to lose this match somewhat clean or get it interfered with will be from Tommaso Ciampa, and that's exactly what happened, man. And so, I just don't understand this. The Street Profits have so much talent. They're the most over. The crowd cares about them the most. They're the most talented. In the ring, they do some of the best work in the entire company across all the wrestlers. They're on the younger side of the roster. They have everything going for them, but they still get nothing in return. Nothing in return. Meanwhile, the Motor City Machine Guns get to hold the belts immediately after coming to the WWE. It's just, at this point, it's nonsensical. And I would not be surprised if Montez and Angelo left the WWE this week because it just doesn't work. They could spin it in a bloodline, in a storyline where Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins just turn heel and say, screw the establishment. We're going to fight back and we're going to absolutely, get exactly what's ours and we're going to just destroy people. Like after this match, Angelo Dawkins still punched one of the jobbers from MCM, the Motor City Machine Bums. They still punched one of those jobbers in the face afterwards, so he's still upset. But it's like, at this point, we're upset as fans. We're upset. The talent, the ability, the longevity, the consistency. It's been, 5-6 years since they've been on the main roster? And what is their reward right now? They haven't won gold in 3 or 4 years at this point, man. It's unacceptable. It's like they don't contribute. They're not contributing anything gold-wise, yet they're contributing a lot with their talents and with their wrestling every week. Their consistency. And the reward for all of that is just to keep losing to jobber tag teams or keep being embarrassed by jobber tag teams. You even had this part where Montez Ford was getting his face stomped in over and over and over again by Tommaso. It was funny to watch because of the way Montez was selling it. But again, man, this is it. I would not be surprised if the Street Profits leave. They're not being utilized correctly. And I quite frankly am done with it. I'm not even going to yell. I'm just upset at this point. It's stupid. Then we had the main event. Nia Jax versus Naomi was actually a pretty solid match, okay? It actually got very good as it went along. The last 5 minutes of this match, I'd say, is very good. Everything before that is kind of just average or mediocre, run-of-the-mill matches for people like Nia Jax and Naomi. Pretty much, the last 5 minutes is the biggest story here. Nia Jax and Naomi have a lot of different counters. You have Nia Jax doing pop-up Samoan drops. Naomi did like this crazy body slam flip-looking thing to Nia Jax off the top rope. It was a great move. She hit the rear view. She also try to do this so he did do this moonsault. And all of this leads to Tiffany Stratton trying to come out and cost Naomi the match. She comes out without the briefcase to, I guess, show more of her loyalty to Nia Jax. And she tries to cost Naomi, but it doesn't work. Naomi then hits like some move, I forget what move it was, and she tries to pin Nia. Nia kicks out. Then Bayley comes out to the sideline. She pushes Tiffany to the side and cheers on Naomi. As Naomi goes up and hits some type of finish, or it's like some springboard moonsault, something like that, off the turnbuckle. And after this, Nia Jax still kicks out, right? So now it's like really amped. Everything's moving fast. There's cameos. There's sideline interference. And then you flash backstage to see Jade and Bianca getting beat down by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This isn't really served as a distraction for Naomi in the match because Naomi doesn't even look at the Titantron, right? But at the end of the day, Jade and Bianca got attacked. You know what I'm saying? And that's just that's something that, is going to obviously set the seeds for the 5v5 at the War Games for the women's side, which is probably going to be Io Sky, Bianca, Jade, what's her name, bro? Who else is going to be on that thing, man? I'm thinking Naomi, obviously. Did I say that already, man? I don't even know. You get the point. It's going to be jobbers, right? I'll put the names on the screen. And the rumored 5th member is going to be Rhea Ripley in a return this week on Raw. That's the rumor, right? We'll see what happens with that garbage, but who knows? At the end of the day, Io Sky was the 4th member. That's what I'm thinking of. Io Sky was there. But yeah, that's going to be the team of 5 for the faces. And then the heels is going to be Nia Jax, Tiffany, Liv Morgan, Raquel, and probably Candice LeRae. That's going to be the 5. And at the end of the day, I could really care less about this match. I could care less about this build. But it gets back into the ring, and Candice LeRae comes ringside and pretty much costs Naomi the match. That's literally all that happened. She beats up Bayley, costs Naomi the match. Nia Jax comes up, hits the Annihilator after like a Samoan drop thing, and that's the end. Nia Jax raises her title up with Tiffany and Candice LeRae by her side. And then at the very end of the show, in the last moments, literally the last minute or two of the show, Roman Reigns goes and makes that phone call. And he reveals that he was making that phone call to the wise man, Paul Heyman. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty cool. But Paul Heyman's phone doesn't pick up. It literally says, you have reached, a deadline. Like, this service is no longer available. This is a recording. This phone is no longer available. You know what I'm saying? It's like some robotic, message that they always give out when you try and call someone and it just doesn't go through. You know what I mean? So that's an interesting situation. I generally don't know what could have happened to the dude's phone. Maybe his phone is, not working. Maybe The Rock, hacked this dude's phone. The Rock's gonna hack your phone, boy. He's gonna make you bleed, boy. The Rock may have just have control over Paul Heyman, but we don't know it yet. It gets revealed down the line. You may see Paul Heyman return back with The Rock at Survivor Series. There's tons of possibilities, but either way, this is going to probably lead to something. Maybe a Heyman return in the next couple weeks, or maybe a Heyman return at Survivor Series itself or after that. But overall, the Bloodline stuff is just getting more interesting while also getting a little bit more convoluted at the same time. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, man. I do like the addition of Bronson Reed, and I do think that Seth Rollins, it's going to be interesting because of their past and everything they've done. But again, with the recent track record and the recent history, it's like, how can you contradict all of that by having him team with Roman? They're going to have to do an amazing segment or an amazing job of rekindling that fire between those two, because if not, it's not going to end up working good at all. So we'll see what happens. This episode of Smackdown was not bad. It wasn't good. It was the best of the worst and the worst of the best. It was the definition of average. I would give it a 6 out of 10. There's been a lot better Smackdowns, but there's also been a lot worse. So, and recently there's been a lot more worse than there is good. So, you have to take it as it comes. But that's my thoughts on SmackDown. Let me know what y'all thought about it in the comment section below. And as always, I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.